Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. So today we are going to do a kind of like a March update. So I know I haven't posted a lot of videos in the last month or two, and that's mostly because, family issues, business is starting up, things like that. So I do have to obviously make a living in order to do this hobby, and unfortunately that's taken me away from my tank. But we're going to go ahead and do a March update today, and for the most part the tank has been doing pretty good. As you can see, a lot of the SPS are really starting to grow out well. Even the ones that have, for example, not grown a lot, for example, this little fox flame here, it's shooting up another branch now. So a lot of the more stagnant corals that you see in my tank are starting to grow out a little bit, which is super exciting because, nobody wants just a nub. That's my homewrecker. It's a nub, it's staying a nub, and I don't expect it to grow ever. But hey, he's there. But yeah, the SPS have done pretty darn well in this tank, which is just absolutely great. I have actually had to go ahead and start making a few cuts. As you can see right here, we just have some random acros. We have, for example, this little guy right here, which is a orange passion, and yeah, just kind of frags all around. Now I do have my frag rack that I had down here in the sump currently in the tank because it had grown a bunch of hair algae, so I went ahead and let my tangs go ahead and enjoy it. Now in the last episode you saw, I did go ahead and get a magnificent fox face as well as a Desjardins tang, but unfortunately they just didn't make it. I came back from a kind of like a family emergency, and the Desjardins was just nowhere to be found, not even a skeleton. And then the fox face was doing just fine, but I think what happened was in the back of this rock right here, it somehow happened to get stuck and it just died there. So basically one day it was eating and the next day it was just dead, which honestly is a little annoying given, I went out of my way to remove some pretty aggressive fish from this tank so that I could go ahead and put these two fish in, and it unfortunately looks like none of them make it. I honestly believe in my mind that if I post a fish on YouTube saying, hey, here's my new fish, that fish does not survive. So I might try that in the future. I'm just not going to talk about fish for a little bit. Try to stock up this tank maybe with some cheaper fish, and maybe I'll see if that works out. But I think that might be a curse I might actually have. Now, if we move on to, for example, LPS corals, I do have my torches here, which have been doing absolutely awesome. As you can see, this hammer here has a bit of a white spot, or just kind of bleaching, and what actually happened here was that this hammer actually used to cover this hole right here, and it has grown so much recently that the new heads have basically been bleached out. So I went ahead, popped it right off of that rock right there, and I glued it to a plate, and we're just gonna let the guy just kind of sit there and color back up. And even here you can see my other hammers, the bottom right there, it's growing another head that's getting pretty close to touching a rock. The other gold hammer back there is getting pretty close to touching some corals. So, with these hammers, I am getting a pretty decent growth, which is, super great. I have actually been on a little bit of a hammer binge, as you can see. I haven't really bought anything recently except for these three, which I picked up last week because there was a sale, so really couldn't miss it. But I was able just to pick up these kind of orangish hammers, and then these kind of like a bicolor hammer. This one has just basically different colored polyps, and then this is kind of like a splattery kind, I guess. But yeah, they're nice and green. They really contrast in the tank, so we hope they do super well. And in a little bit I'll go ahead and figure out where I want to place them, but I kind of do want to have a hammer garden just because I think that would look actually pretty darn cool. Now, just for the bottom of the sump, just so we can kind of go through it, the sump has been doing pretty darn good. I did go ahead and put the filter socks back because I took them off initially so that the tank could get a little bit dirtier, which I believe I have succeeded in. Because a lot of my coral that wasn't doing well, for example, my candy canes, Goniopora, for example, are all doing well now. And I kind of do attribute that a little bit to just having more nutrients in the system. I don't have a lot of fish, as you guys probably know by now. And, you know, just being able to accumulate some of that fish poo, I think, has really helped. And as you can see down here, I have a good amount of zoas growing. Yeah, a really good amount of everything. I still do have the Colorado sunburst back there, which I'll figure out at some point what to do with. I want to keep them, but I also don't want to release them into the tank because it'll probably just go wild and start murdering everything. I still do have some of these macroalgae in the back as well, and then just some miscellaneous zoas, you know, that have just been basically growing out. Now, one thing I did want to get around to is my other sump. So while I was on vacation, I did have an issue where, as you can see here, the skimmer here overflowed and made quite a mess. I've been trying to clean it up, but some of these places are just kind of hard to get to. But as you can see, we have a lot of salt creep on my apex right here, which is obviously a very bad thing. So I think we're actually going to go ahead and just redo a switch around. So we're going to go ahead and take these two pieces of equipment here and put them back into this tank and then convert this back to a frag tank. So I'll go ahead and make a full episode on that in the future. But we're going to go ahead and disassemble these, get these cleaned up since they have been running for quite a while. And we're going to move the frag tank back in here because I would rather have the more space that's in here in this left side of the tank, but I would really rather not destroying any of the equipment I have. So I'd rather not have anything that could overflow in here, you know, to destroy anything, and just keep it as a frag tank even though it is a little bit smaller. Now that is pretty much it for today's update. Like I mentioned, it's been pretty steady. I did happen to lose one SPS, which was this big green SPS right here. As you can see, this is what remains of the skeleton. I really don't know what happened. Basically, just one day I came down and it was RTNing. I don't know if it's something I did, or maybe because it's gotten so big it didn't have enough flow. But as you can see, all my other SPS are doing just fine, so it does kind of seem like a isolated incident. I did go ahead and do a water change just in case. Number one, to keep the nutrients down, and number two, just to make sure that none of the RTN tissue, you know, really got on the other corals and caused any problems. But besides that, it has been pretty smooth sailing, nothing particularly interesting. I do have a little death on this pectinia just because it is getting so big and I just don't have enough light to surround it. So we may be cutting that soon, just to sell off for some store credit. But yeah, hopefully things start settling down for me and I'll be able to make more content. I do have a lot of plans, especially for this little area right here where my top off is, and I do hope I'll be able to make some future content soon. But yeah, that is pretty much it for today's episode. I just wanted to give a quick update on the tank itself, which is it's doing pretty much a-okay. Nothing particularly interesting. I do have another episode already set for next week that I kind of forgot about, but I'll still go ahead and edit that up and post it. But yeah, thank you guys as always for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already if you enjoy my content. I do plan on making a whole bunch of different things this year, especially now that this tank is grown out. But yeah, thank you guys as always for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.